And we just wanted to thank you all so much for coming, for being here, and supporting our school board elections, because school board elections do matter. And thank you all so much to all of our candidates for being here. It means a lot to us that you were willing to participate in this. So we are just going to go ahead and sort of jump right into things with reading aloud sort of our norms and our rules for this evening. Then we're going to do some candidate introductions, and then we're just going to get right into the questions.
So for all of our norms and rules, we have some specific little categories that we'll go over. First is going to be moderation and timekeeping. And we have our neutral and experienced moderator, Amaya, over here. And she'll be doing some hand signals, kind of, so you can see whenever she puts her hand in a fist, that means you guys will stop talking, and you'll have a 10-second grace period at the end of each question just to say whatever you need to kind of finish. And we have strict time limits, so for opening and closing statements, you'll have 3 minutes and 2 minutes for each question asked. And as I said, we have our opening statements. For questions, we do have a bunch of QR codes kind of spread around for students to submit and ask questions. And we ask you guys to avoid personal or negative questions and ensure that our questions are clear and concise. The next thing will be civility and respect. So please, we need to emphasize the importance to be respectful and courteous in here and to our candidates, and set a zero tolerance policy for personal attacks, offensive language, or disruptions. And we encourage you guys to submit questions in advance and request that you guys refrain from applause, cheers, or other disruptive behaviors during or in between the candidate responses. And each candidate will have 3 minutes to summarize their key points and appeal for votes in their closing statement. And our goal for our candidates tonight is just to make their information, their background, campaign platforms, and readily available, which is right outside there for you guys after when we're done, and just to adhere to all campaign finance, ethics, and election laws as we get started. So I'll give it back to Safra, and then we can get started.
All right, so our first opening statement is going to come from our candidate, Heather Cloninger.
Great. Good evening, I'm Heather Cloninger, and I'm thrilled to be here running for re-election for the school board. I've been lucky enough to serve this school district for the last 4 years. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of you at your schools and at your events. It's been an amazing experience for me and my favorite part of being on the board. 4 years ago when I ran for this seat, my slogan was Kids First, and guess what? Not much has changed. That still drives me every day. It's not just a slogan, it's a commitment. But let's be honest, some of the things have changed in the 4 years. My sons, Jack and Sam, who are here on the front row, have grown. They've kept me on my toes, trying to keep up with all the teen slang. It's like learning another language. But jokes aside, my time as a parent in this district has been invaluable. I've spent countless hours in D20 getting to know your kids, your teachers, and all of you. I've seen the unique challenges our students and staff face, and I've seen the incredible dedication and passion of our educators. Being a member of the school board is not just about showing up for board meetings. It's about being in the trenches, volunteering, and truly understanding what our schools need. Before I joined the board, I was involved in numerous committees and wore many volunteer hats because I wanted to understand how I could be involved in my kids' education. To me, putting students first means showing up for your events, being there to cheer you on when you have big moments or accomplishments. It's talking to kids who aren't in sports or activities and finding out what they need to feel successful. Encouraging our students to use their voices, advocate for themselves, and my big takeaway from the last 4 years is that we have an amazing group of students. So I ask you students, parents, and all members of this incredible community, let's keep putting our students first. Let's continue to make our district a place where everyone can thrive and succeed. Vote for experience, commitment, and deep understanding of what our schools need. And also, world peace. Vote for me, Heather Cloninger, because together we can ensure that D20 remains a place where students come first, always. Thank you.
And for our next opening statement, we'll have Amy Shandy.
Good evening. I'm Amy Shandy, I'm a D20 parent, speech pathologist, community leader, and local business owner. The proud mother of 2 Air Academy High School graduates and wife to my amazing husband of 26 years, Ty Shandy. In 2005, I co-founded the Shandy Clinic, an outpatient pediatric therapy facility offering speech, OT, PT. When I retired and exited the practice in 2020, the clinic had expanded the services to include behavioral therapy and autism evaluations, and grown to one of the largest privately owned pediatric outpatient clinics in the United States with 12 locations, 290 employees, $23 million in annual revenue, and over 18,000 appointments completed a month. The Shandy Clinic was awarded Best of the Springs and Best Workplace by the Colorado Springs Gazette on multiple occasions. My entire career serving and advocating for children has prepared me to continue that mission as D20 School Board Director. I envision a culture of excellence where our teachers are focused on academic growth and achievement and are paid fairly, where student classroom sizes are reduced, age-appropriate books fill our libraries, buildings are maintained, schools prepared for threats, and charter schools are welcomed with open arms. I have been endorsed by the Home Builders Association, current State Board of Education member Steve Durham, State Senator Paul Lundeen, and former D20 School Board member Catherine Bullock, to name a few. I bring a much-needed, fresh perspective, drive for results, and a keen focus on academic growth and excellence. I am committed to academic excellence, parental rights, and our special needs community, propelling all students to reach their full potential. Thank you very much.
I feel like I'm reading a bedtime story. Good evening, I'm Will Temby, and I'm seeking re-election to the Academy School District Board of Education. Currently, I serve as its Vice President. But rest assured, I won't bore you with too many formal titles and stuffy jargon. We want you awake for the next couple hours. I'm so excited that you, our students, have taken the initiative to hold this forum. You are the world's next generation. And nothing is more important than for you to get to know those who wish to represent you and your interests in the months and years ahead. Thank you for what you're doing here tonight. It is a testament to our incredible D20 teachers and, most importantly, your parents. In the book, Great on Their Behalf, the author writes that boards of education should be focused on student outcomes and not be distracted by adult issues. I have believed that for many years, and the author states what should be obvious. How we prepare you for post-secondary success is the primary responsibility of the Board of Education and the entire staff of Academy District 20. Students are not born Democrats, Republicans, or independents. Our goal should be to provide you with a comprehensive and relevant education and keep politics and religion out of our schools. You're smart, and with a good education and in time, you'll figure out where you stand on issues. I believe that each of you possesses unique talents, interests, and skill sets. It is our responsibility to help nurture you and your passions so that you can build on those and launch into the world. I continue to serve D20 because it has been good to my family. My 5 kids all attended and graduated from D20 schools and are successful, incredible humans, even though they don't always laugh at my dad jokes. I've been invested in and served this district for 28 years. Even though my kids have moved on to the next chapters of their lives, I want to help you be successful as you move into high school and graduate from this great district. I look forward to your questions this evening. Thank you.
And next we have Derek Wilburn.
Sure. Thank you. For anybody who may wonder, just to keep it straight, I'm the guy in the black shoes, gray pants, blue blazer, and button-up shirt, in case you get confused which is Will, which is me. That's how to tell us apart. Thank you, students. This is extraordinarily impressive that you put this together. My wife, Renee, and I my wife of 29 years. We've been residents in the district for 24 years. All 3 of our children are now graduates of District 20 schools. And all of our kids have started life with an incredible head start as a result of the education they've gotten in District 20. District 20 education has simply been invaluable to them. I have an Air Force pilot, I have a bank executive, I have a freshman at the Colorado School of Mines studying in quantum physics, whatever that even is. I too have served on multiple committees in the district, and now decided to run for the Board of Education. With our youngest child having just graduated in May, and he's, by the way, already a sophomore at the Colorado School of Mines, I've hit empty nest, and people have asked, so why are you running for school board now? And simply put, I enjoy serving my community, and I've always felt an obligation to support and service younger generations. It's because of that sense of obligation that I founded and now run my own fantastically successful internship program, wherein I source and hire ethnic minority interns, ethnic minority college students from all around the country, and send them to live and work in fully paid internships in Washington, D.C. They go to work in senatorial offices, they go to work in House of Representative offices, on Capitol Hill every single summer. It's because of that sense of obligation to the younger generations that I speak and teach at colleges and universities, both here in Colorado and all around the country. District 20 is an excellent school district by any standard of measure, and the current board should be lauded for much of that. I want that excellence to continue. I want every child in our district to get the absolute best obligation that they possibly can. And adding fresh eyes, new ideas, fresh perspectives to a governing body doesn't weaken that body, it strengthens it. Our teachers do an incredible job. They put in long hours, they pour their hearts and souls into their students. I want them paid as well as they possibly can be for their hard work. Parents deserve to know what's happening in our schools and tailor their children's education to individual learning needs and specific styles. We have to do these things within a tight and understandable budget, and I've managed budgets large and small for many, many years. So I thank you all for being here, students, for putting this on. Look forward to questions.
The way this question period is going to work is we're going to start with Heather, then go to Amy, Will, and Derek. And for the next question, we're going to start with Amy, then go to Will, Derek, and Heather being last, and so on and so forth. If any of you need me to repeat a question at any time, I'm happy to do so. And again, we ask you to refrain from applause in between questions just for the sake of time. So, our first question of the evening is, what steps will you take to ensure that all students, regardless of their background or identity, have access to quality education and feel included and valued in our schools?
Thank you. One of the things that I immediately think of is the representation that we have and don't have in this district. I think that that's really important for our kids to be seen and for them to see themselves in their teachers. So retaining good teachers is a big priority of mine. We've seen the profession be something that has become almost criminalized as far as having doubts and putting doubts about people, about teachers and what they do. Our teachers are quality, and I will fight every single day for those teachers because they do such good work. And so keeping that as a focus for me is important. I also believe that in D20, we follow the law. There's a lot of parts to maybe a national rhetoric or things that you hear that are really not something that we deal with other than the fact that we follow the law here. So we will take care of all of our students where they are and who they are. And the other thing that I would say is that I'm there. I'm in the trenches with all of you. I don't think that's necessarily what every board member can do. It's what I do. I can call out a lot of kids in every single school of all 43 by name. And that's because I'm in there and I'm trying to help you be seen and be recognized and be authentically yourself. Thank you.
All students matter. Creating policies that get rid of the things that distract us in the day and keep us from focusing on our math lesson, our English lesson, or our science lesson need to be put in place with policy so that you can come into the classroom, your teacher can receive you, can see you, can hear you, can meet you where you are, and then help propel you through that classroom. that lesson so that you can, you know, exemplify your strengths and your weaknesses. So creating those policies that get rid of the distractions so that we can really, really focus on what it is we're supposed to be learning every single hour of your day, and making it a place where you want to come every day, where you're inspired to learn, and it's not like you wake up and you're like, I have to go to school. You wake up and you say, I get to go to school and I can't wait to learn today because it's a great place to be. So creating that culture.
I guess it's me. So, well, I agree with Mrs. Cloninger on one thing. Inclusivity is not just a buzzword, it is the law. And as a board member, we follow the law. There's a distinction, and I think it's very important that the board have a clear understanding in a policy governance model that we have one employee, and that employee is the superintendent. So it is the responsibility of the superintendent and our outstanding staff to create policy that allows for things that Ms. Shandy referenced. It is not the purview of the Board of Education to set policy as to what happens in schools every day. It is the purview of the superintendent and the staff. Inclusivity, I think, exists already in our district. One of our values is that we want people to feel as though they belong. And with that comes a welcoming environment where people accept people for the diversity that they bring into our student population. And we get past all those issues and we can focus on learning. A comment was made about teachers. Studies have shown that if we work hard, and it's very difficult in the midst of a national teacher shortage, to have our staffs be more diverse, so students of color and different diverse backgrounds are working with an instructor who might look like them. The efficacy of that instruction might ratchet up a little bit if they can connect with an instructor. So we're working hard in human resources on that, but the reality is we want to find the best possible talent for this excellent district. And there is a dearth of talent out there. And so we've got a number of issues ahead that are formidable, and I will be continuing to work to solve those issues. Thank you.
We absolutely draw strength in all corners of society from being a diverse nation. A lot of nations are forced are much more homogeneous than this one. We're not like that, and that's a strength, that's a good thing. We need to make sure that we're promoting policies that make sense, and we need to have strict anti-bullying policies in place where they don't exist. Nobody should be bullied for any reason whatsoever, ever. It happens, children are children, we understand that. But whether it's sexual orientation, or whether it's skin color, or whether it's the grades you get and I don't, or the amount of money your parents make versus mine, no one should tolerate bullying at any level in any District 20 school, or at any school, period, for that matter. And we need policies to make sure that gets squashed if and when it happens. When it comes to diversity, making sure that one individual or group of individuals is comfortable at the expense of another group of individuals is not equity. That's just flipping the script. So we have to look at the entire student population. Anyone that's marginalized, anyone that's bullied, anyone that's picked on, we need to make sure that the group individuals responsible are held accountable, they understand why. But we can't take the majority and say, your concerns are secondary to the minority. I am a minority, and I know that doesn't work. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes in many cases. I raised minority children in this school district to be very successful, and taught them, and will teach any student that I ever come in contact with, that there are some things you cannot control. You cannot control another person's attitude, you can only control yours. So when and if you run into a situation that you can't control, you have teachers, you have administrators, you have board members, you have principals, you have people to whom you need to turn to make sure that that situation gets rectified and not try to deal with it on your own. That's how we end up with bullying versus bullying and fist fights and all that stuff, and that doesn't benefit society, that damages it.
Thank you guys so much. So as Saffron made clear earlier, for the cycle, or for the next question, it will start with Amy, go to Will, Derek, and then back to Heather. And our next question is, How will you work to promote diversity and inclusion among our teachers and staff to reflect the diverse student body we have?
Excellent question. So again, every group of people is important. Creating that environment where everyone feels valued and heard and seen as teachers, and most importantly, their skill set. When your skill set is where it needs to be and you can deliver the teaching that you need to teach in your classroom, your students are going to succeed and they're going to advance in the way that we want them to at District 20. So creating that environment where everyone is welcome, that we understand that we're all here on the same mission as they call it now, Team One, all with the same mission, all rowing in the same direction, and having the same purpose in mind. And really understanding that we're here to serve one another. That it's not what can I do for myself, what can I do for my classroom. It's how can I serve my teammates, how can I serve my parents, how can I serve my students, and everyone with that same attitude. With that attitude, you can get the culture of excellence that you need, and everyone moving in the same direction. We did it at the Shandy Clinic where we had to all be on the same page with the same mission in mind, and it's a beautiful thing when it works well.
I think I addressed the human resource challenge that we have in terms of recruiting, so I won't repeat my previous comments about that. That's an incredibly important aspect of this. But we have a population of 26,600 kids, and it is the responsibility of the Board of Education to make sure that we represent all students. We take an oath not to be beholden to any special advocacy groups, special interest groups, or loud voices out there that want just a certain population taken care of or heard. We have a responsibility to every single child in this district, and we take that very seriously. That's one way to ensure that people from various diverse backgrounds feel welcome here. Again, I go back to one of the beliefs of this district, which is we want people to feel as though they belong. And when people feel genuinely that there's trusted adults in buildings that care about their backgrounds and concerns, they can raise any concerns with trusted adults in our buildings. They're going to feel as though they belong. They're going to feel safe and secure. One of the very basic tenets, the foundation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is the feeling of safe and secure so that you're in a place that you can learn. So our obligation is to be welcoming. Our obligation as people with experience, business experience or whatever, understand the richness of diversity in the workplace. It's no different in the school district. A rich school district, one that does not have a homogeneous population, is a thriving school district, and we need to embrace that, encourage it at the school level and holistically from the board level.
The primary and principal mission of the school district, any school district, should be the pursuit of academic excellence. That's number one, and I think we all would agree that that's the most important thing. The mission of being diverse and promoting diversity is important as well. I don't think anybody would claim that it isn't. The issue we can run into is when we put the mission of diversity above the mission of the organization, whatever the organization may be. The mission of the United States military is readiness to wage and win war. That's its mission. If and when the mission of seeing to it that it's diverse becomes superior to that mission, that's when the organization as a whole begins to suffer and is unable to complete its mandates. When we put academic excellence first and see to it that we're graduating people who are ready to enter the workforce, or ready to continue their education at the next level, we solve a lot of the problems and issues that we're talking about. However, in this district, right now, we just saw the CMAS scores, and black students, which are near and dear to my heart, as you can imagine, are lagging significantly behind. We're at 38%. English, we're at 29% proficiency in math. That's significantly behind the general population. So finding ways to push those kids into a more successful situation needs to be a priority. I would disagree with the idea that a female student learns more or better from a female teacher. A black student learns more and better from a black teacher. I've lived both of those worlds, and I didn't find it to be true in my personal experience. I just don't think that's how it works. I think what we need to do is get the best, most qualified teachers we can possibly get them into our classrooms, get them into our administration, and work towards securing the academic excellence that we're really here for. When that happens, and you have kids of all stripes who are performing academically, they feel better about themselves, their esteem is higher. I like the reference to Maslow's hierarchy. They're in a better position to move forward in life, and that's what the school district's here for.
One thing that happened, and I'll just say this as a sitting board member, a couple years ago, we had a woman who was a fantastic teacher. And she, at one of our board meetings, quit from the pulpit. It was heartbreaking, and it was, in a lot of ways, a tragedy, because she was a woman of color who taught a lot of our middle school students and a great educator. I bring this up because I think that there is a lot of rhetoric that we hear, and whether or not we believe the same thing as each other doesn't necessarily make it true. It's our opinion. There are studies that say that that people learn from who they see, as they see themselves. And that's something that I have seen. I have seen that in schools, and when they're represented, then they feel seen and they feel like they belong. That said, I think with the national rhetoric that we have going on, where we can't even talk about race, it takes teachable moments away from our classrooms. And when we take away teachable moments that could be a lifelong learner opportunity from our teachers, that is exactly the harm that we're doing by not having a diverse population teach our students. I feel passionate about keeping the teachers that we do have, retaining those good teachers, also helping new teachers come here because they can feel safe and because their students will feel safe with them here.
For your answers, next up is going to be Will. So our next question is, how will you prioritize and support extracurricular activities such as sports, arts, and clubs, which can contribute to a well-rounded education?
Well, you answered the question. We already do. The Board of Education oversees the annual budget and approves the allocation of resources to schools, and it is clear that we have robust and rich extracurricular programs, clubs, athletic programs, and the arts. And we are going to continue to support them because we agree that they help make a well-rounded student. I was very involved in sports at all levels of my education through college, and I have fond memories from my involvement in those sports, and they really complemented everything I was learning in the classroom. Some of my richest friendships through life came through those extracurricular activities, and I am absolutely in support of the continuance of those programs. And again, studies have not shown that they make just well-rounded students. Students who are involved in the arts and extracurricular activities typically perform better academically than somebody coming from the exact same background with no involvement in extracurricular activities. So we fully support that as a Board of Education. It will continue to be a budget priority. And again, we look out for the interests of all 26,600 kids, not just a few football players or people in the robotics club. We look out for everybody's well-being. And when schools have rich programs and engage their populations, that creates a sense of belonging to those students. And it's amazing what happens when kids feel as though they're safe, they belong, and they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Mr. Temming couldn't possibly be more right. The board needs to continue to make it a priority to to fund and see to it that our schools have adequate funding for extracurricular programs, whatever those may be. Sports, arts, so on and so forth, extremely important part of education. I happen to have very athletic children. Our kids were all involved in sports. They're all runners. We have 30 state medals in my house, 9 championships, and that's because the acorn never falls far from the tree. That's the reason that happened. So I've always been a participant in all of that stuff, and as a board member, I'll continue. I go to track meets, I go to football games, basketball games, I go to as many I do all the stuff that I can just because I enjoy being around it. And as a board, I think it's important. And kudos to both Will and Heather and the other board members. If you go to board meetings, which I've been to a lot of them, maybe if you have to, they almost always, in their talking points at the beginning of the board meetings, show pictures and discuss their travels around the district, going to plays and going to ball games. They're very involved. And as a board member, I'd certainly do the same thing. I think it's extremely important that the children, as well as the instructors and the coaches, see that the actual board members are here supporting us in person. That delivers a very strong message, and I thank you both for always having done that.
Hey, sorry. I was looking for another plug. Just kidding. As far as clubs and how we support those, I know that has come into concern recently. I think that clubs are important. It's an important way that we can have our students feel like they belong. It's where they find their tribe or their people. And I think that the clubs should be something that we encourage our children to become part of. I'm looking at you, Sam. I'm just kidding. I do feel very strongly that we need to recognize the sense of belonging that it brings. And I personally believe in kids having that opportunity, the opportunity both for sports and for the more academic clubs as well. I've sat in on full days of chess tournaments, which to some might make you want to pull your hair out, but I loved every single minute of it because those little brains were working hard, and it was young grades, second maybe or first through seniors, and it was really interesting. But to me, the idea that we would pick on those clubs or have issues with that, it seems silly because it is about having a well-rounded curriculum. Thanks.
Extracurricular activities are vital to the overall development of our students and creating well-roundedness, as we've all agreed on. I experienced that myself in high school playing basketball and volleyball and soccer, and then in college experienced that. We have so many great programs in D20, winning state titles. I know Air Academy, we got the soccer title, and so absolutely vital that those programs are made available. One way that we could be better though is bus transportation. How many kids are we losing because they can't stay for practice and they have no way of getting home? I know from personal experience trying to shuttle the baseball team from practice or games or whatnot, and you're asking juniors and seniors to carry the freshmen and sophomores and things like that. I know that there are programs after school for tutoring and things like that, but kids can't stay because they don't have a way home because mom and dad are working 2 jobs or whatnot. So I think figuring out how to solve the bus transportation problem, looking beyond the hurdles, and figuring out that piece of it will only help involve more of our students and create a more rich environment for everyone, not just the ones who are able to either drive themselves or their parents are either able to drive them. So absolutely support extracurricular activities. Let's figure out how to get more of our students involved.
Awesome, thank you guys so much. Our next question is, how do you, as a member of the school board, plan to address the emotional and mental health of students who have stress and anxiety related to post-pandemic challenges?
Mental and emotional health have always been challenges for school-age children, and now in the post-pandemic world, even more so, when the world basically shut down for 15 months and people got isolated and felt disconnected from their friends and peers and what have you. So extraordinarily important and a very relevant question. I'm not opposed to all aspects of SEL, as some people may think that I am. SEL's got some tools that are very, very helpful. There are skills, social skills, learning skills, that need to be learned. Sharing is a learned skill. No kindergarten. You give a 5-year-old 10 jelly beans, they're going to eat 10 jelly beans. It's not innate to share 5 of them with my sister. That has to be taught. So teaching those skills is very important. Inside our schools, underneath our roofs, do we have adequate counseling services in place for those children who feel like they're falling behind, whether they're falling behind academically or in some other discipline? We have what's it called, the goodness scale, where you're measuring your goodness on this axis and your energy on that axis, and teachers can actually ask students where they are. I think that's a positive thing, and there's no reason to not include those things. When we're dealing with students that are post-pandemic and they're behind academically, which a lot of kids in the country are right now, they just miss so much instruction that they're feeling senses of depression because I'm not where I need to be, I'm not piling up the credits I need to pile up to graduate, that kind of thing. Those are things that we can address academically, from an academic advisory and counseling point of view. We need to make sure that resources are in schools to help kids address those things, so they're not dealing with the stress of, I'm behind in school, on top of the stress that I haven't seen my friends in 2 or 3 years, I want to get caught up on that metric too. So there are things that we can do, but all of it boils down to schools, school resources, and budget priorities.
One of the things that I think of as with our mental health and our children's mental health is just like if a child is hungry, if a child is not able to regulate or be in a place where they feel safe, where they feel like they belong, where they feel that they're being seen, they're not able to learn. So the academics has to come after. If you do not have a stable environment, then you're not going to learn that math equation. You're going to be thinking about the issues that you have. We have incredible programs put into place with our SEL, like our sources of strength and our ruler and different, some disciplinary, some other, but so that we can help our kids be effective learners. I think effective learners is a big piece of what we offer our children when we, like I said before, they recognize that they belong in that room. I feel that when we are getting them to that place, they are going to be able to be seen. They're going to be able to make those academic strides that we are pushing for. Those things happen, and those things happen after they are regulated. I'm grateful for things like this school has a quiet room, things that have been put in place, all of those kind of things. We have parent academies that are incredible, helping parents have the abilities to learn some things. All of us should be lifelong learners, and I'll tell you what, that is a very underserved group. To go to a parent academy, they go online, they're every month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, so I would suggest going to those.
Mental health is absolutely 100% very, very important. If you are not mentally well when you come into the classroom, there is no way you are going to be learning that day, no way you're going to be excelling in your studies that day. And we do have a lot of great programs in place to help teachers know how to deal with those kids who come in and need a little extra assistance. Can we be doing more? Can we equip our teachers with more tools so that they can really see that child, know how to help them without going full-blown counselor, psychologist, and get them in a place where they can feel safe, feel seen, feel heard, and be ready to then launch into their studies for that class. It's vital, we know that, and there are great programs in place, but I think that we can do even more than what we've already done to help promote that.
A lot has been said. I'm the son of a psychiatrist, and mental health issues are real. But we have the concurrent task of dealing with mental health issues and academic achievement. One thing the Board of Education has done for quite some time is support many of the programs that have been enumerated here. Sources of Strength. That is an upstream program to capture kids when they come in, really identify where they're at, and if intervention is needed, maybe it's that trusted adult pulling a kid aside and just putting them in a place where they feel safe, secure, and ready to learn. But it is an individual, case-by-case basis. Many of our kids come in fully equipped to learn every day. We have Ruler. One thing that we were blessed with were some of these ESSER funds coming out of the pandemic. And we were able to institute some summer counseling classes where our Family Resource Center has been able to work with families who just need a little boost during the summer to extricate maybe a child who's dealing with depression or some of these other issues so that they can come back in the fall ready to learn. But it is a multi-pronged approach in schools. One is, again, sensitivity to what these kids have been through. It's traumatic. I think any of us would be lying to say that the pandemic was deleterious to many of us in terms of our daily routines, isolation. We're social beings. We're meant to be with each other. And many of these kids are isolated. I know in our own family, one of our children, very gregarious, turned a little inward. She's not an online learner. You know, she needs to be around people. She's tactile and kinetic. And so she really needs that in-person learning. We're still catching up from that. We're catching up on mastery and a number of other things. But mental health issues are real, and it is just another thing layered on top of the tremendous burden on our staffs. And you look at our teachers, and you hear about teacher burnout and everything, and you look at this dearth of people in the pipeline in education. This should concern us all. So I'm getting the hand signal. I could go on about this issue, but clearly mental health and our kids feeling safe and secure is an incredible task for this district.
How does the school board ensure that banned books do not negatively impact students' access to diverse and educational literature?
I used to work for Scholastic Book Fairs, and I ran into a woman her name is Donalyn Miller, and she is a teacher's teacher and writes amazing books like Reading in the Wild and things like that. One of the things that she said when we were at a conference was that children need to be able to read what they want to read. That does not take away parent choice, parent teaching in their homes. All of those things are necessary and should be happening. However, parenting other people's kids by banning a book is not, in my opinion, a healthy way to have readers in our schools. That said, it's been mythed and actually spoken pretty poorly of myself that I would like to have porn in schools. And I will tell you, it is shameful to hear that coming from this group of community members who want to disparage me because I don't believe in parenting other people's kids. I believe that we need to look at how these books get to our libraries. That's important. But the idea that you are going to just come through and take a list of books away from kids who actually identify with things that are going on in that book, that is completely a parent choice, and you have that ability. We have steps already put in place in our libraries, and we have policies in place that we need to follow.
Amazon has over 32 million books for sale on their platform. You could say that all the libraries who can't hold all 32 million books are banning books, but we know that that's not the case. If we're going to be a special school district and have a special library, we need to have books that have literary value, that are age appropriate, that inspire our students to creatively think, to innovate, to learn how to rigorously get through a book that is hard to read. It needs to have literary value, and it needs to be age appropriate. And that doesn't mean that the books that we don't have in our library aren't available to you in Amazon, the public library, or whatever. We have to decide as a district what kind of library we want and how special we want to be. That doesn't mean we're banning books. It means we're promoting education and we're promoting literary value.
What a fun subject. First of all, knowledge is power. But I think we should all admit, when you talk about a publisher sending 9,000 new books into a school, we need to do a better job of vetting some of those resources to make sure that they are age appropriate. I am on record at board meetings, despite some assertions from some people with an advocacy group that I don't believe in this. I have stated on record in meetings that books should be age appropriate, particularly as they relate to graphic sexual content or profanity with no redeeming value. I will never ban a book because it offends somebody's ideology. Never. And again, I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'm not sure what literary value is. What literary value may be to me may be completely different to somebody else. So again, I think we need to look, and we are, as a district, we're having this discussion as a Board of Education about making sure that we're vetting books and not just accepting them as being sold by a publisher to us and saying that's the perfect group of books for this age group. We need to make sure that these books are age appropriate. And I hope the volumes in our libraries are wide and diverse in terms of thought. And I hate to say it, but you're going to see bias coming from authors on all sides of the fence. People have different frames of reference. They have different life experiences, and much of that comes out and manifests in their writing. But again, I will never ban a book or remove a book just because it offends ideology. But they must be age appropriate, and we need to do a better job at it.
I do not curse. I'm going to speak some words now that have not come from my lips in 30 years. And I apologize in advance, ladies and gentlemen, for what you're about to hear. These are books currently available in District 20 school libraries. Please forgive me in advance. Title is Push. Page 32. Daddy put his pee-pee smelling thing in my mouth, my pussy but never hold me. I see me, first grade, pink dress, dirty sperm stuff on it. About 3 months after baby's born, I'm 12 when this happens, Mama slapped me hard. Then she picked up a cast iron skillet and she hit me so hard I fall back on the floor. Then she kicks me in the ribs and she say, "Thank you, Ms. Clarice Precious Jones, for fucking my husband, you nasty little slut. Fat cunt, bucket slut, nigger pitch big, all them tell you motherfuckers at the damn hospital, I should kill you," she screamed at me. This book is gay, page 156, How Sex Apps Work. Number 1, upload a tiny picture of yourself to the app. Number 2, the app works out your location. Number 3, the app tells you who the nearest homosexuals are. Number 4, you then chat to them. Number 5, because they are near, it's easy to meet up with them if you're looking for fun. This is a book explaining to our children how to make themselves available to sexual predators. The previous book is describing a first grader forced to give oral sex to her father, and when her mother finds out, she beats the living daylight out of her. Title, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, page 64. Did you know that Indians are living proof that niggers fuck buffalo? That book is available in Chinook Trail Middle School library. I'm a Black American, and my ancestors did not have intercourse with buffalo. If you want your children to have access to and read this material, that's none of my business. But as an independent taxpayer in this district, don't ask me to pay for it. As a member of this board of directors, don't ask me to force you to pay for it, because the answer to both is no.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your little break. For this first question, we're going to start with Amy and work our way down back to Heather at the end. And this question reads, how does the school board ensure curriculum in schools is organized and promotes critical thinking, problem solving, and other essential 21st century skills?
Very good question. Yeah, the purpose of a school board, as Will has quoted from Greg on Their Behalf book earlier, is all about creating that environment and setting the goals and guardrails for the school district, for which the superintendent then takes off and launches and figures out how to achieve those goals within the guardrails. And so setting that vision for the district, and that vision is based on the community's vision and values for what they want from their school district. And so part of that is taking in what it is your goals are for your school district, setting that vision up, and setting the superintendent on their way for success to achieve those. So it's about creating that vision, creating those board policies that set the superintendent for success to make sure that they are achieving your visions and doing that with the right curriculum.
Would you mind repeating that question? I want to make sure I catch the nuance of that question. If your mic works.
I accidentally deleted it. Give me just
All the way.
All right. How does the school board ensure curriculum in schools are organized and promote critical thinking, problem solving, and other essential 21st century skills?
Great, thank you. You guys are asking great questions. You really are. Again, I want to delineate the board's responsibility and the superintendent and the entire team's responsibility. Our involvement in curriculum is potentially looking at new textbooks that are being promoted, new classes that may be proposed at our various schools, and we look at those with a very critical eye. But we have a site-based model here in District 20. And so there's a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. Our kids, our two youngest kids who just graduated from D20 schools in 19 and 21, went through the International Baccalaureate program. Embedded in that program are a number of tenets, and one of them is critical thinking. So that exists in the threads of schools that have got IB programs, and looking at a DCC instructor right there with a lot of acumen and IB. I believe every school is making sure that our kids and our board ends say that we are going to prepare kids to have the knowledge, skills, and character for post-secondary success. That comes in many forms. And the nice thing about our site-based model is it allows, again, for some entrepreneurial spirit. Conversely, from an overarching standpoint, we have an outstanding learning services team. I'm looking at Dr. Susan Field, Tacey Killingsworth, and other people in there that wake up every day thinking about literacy, thinking about curriculum, thinking about how D20 can be better tomorrow than it is today. And so I feel very good about the district's attention on this issue. We don't, from a board level, we don't get down to the granular level of the actual curriculum, but we entrust our superintendent and our outstanding staff to make sure all those elements are embedded into each school each day.
This is one of the most important questions of the night, and one of the most important issues before the school system, curriculum, maintaining it, and I'm so glad that you asked this. So there are a lot of components into it, and Will's touched on one. How many books? Are we approving books that meet state standards? We've got to make sure and take a look at that. Curriculum review comes up in the spring. If we have schools that are struggling in some areas but are using older curriculum, time to review that. Making sure that curriculum is contemporary is extremely important, particularly in the math sciences, because those fields are so fluid. Technology is moving so quickly. We have students that want to complete their high school education and go into automotive engineering. It's always been that way. Kids are like working on cars. I was one of those kids. And there's always going to be a demand for your service if you know how to repair cars, right? It's not a bad career. But kids that graduated high school back when Will was in high school.
That was the Civil War.
If you were the horse and carriage. 40 years ago, if you wanted to get into automotive engineering and repair, you needed to know how to rebuild a carburetor. Well, cars today don't have carburetors. We have cars today that don't even have engines. The whole thing has changed. And that industry is endemic of our entire culture, society, and economy. Everything changes. Computer engineering, software, hardware. Pretty soon, we're old enough to remember DVDs and discs. You guys have never bought one of those, and yeah, I see, look at you looking at me. We used to buy those, and you put it in the disk drive, and it would open up an install program. All that's yesterday. So we have to make sure that curriculum is keeping up with the contemporary changes in our society, particularly technically, and the board can help with that. It is site-based, but the board certainly can help with that, and we need to.
One of the things that I think of is how I became a board member. It came pretty naturally as far as the things that I did. I started as a parent volunteer. I went on to different committees. One of the committees that I started attending very early on was the District Accountability Committee. So one of the things that we need is board members who aren't necessarily going to be learning on the job what that means. We need to have people who understand the budget, the accreditation process, and all of those things that happen. And that's how our parent voices get heard. That is one of the biggest times that you can, as a parent, affect change in this district as a collective, is by being on the District Accountability Committee. I co-chaired the subcommittee for the accreditation, and I did that for several years. I think that when we demonize what's happening with our professionals, which are our teachers, making it sound like they are not the ones who are bringing in good curriculum. I look at our learning services as well, and I think of the amount of work that they do to help us get to that place of where we can provide good learning opportunities for our children. This is all happening. Can we do more? Of course. But the idea to me is that we have gone the course. We have been going through, and by we I mean me, Will did it too, that we have gone through and done the different levels of committees and being a part of those things. That kind of stuff helps so that we can make those good decisions. I am always interested in learning new, innovative ways that teachers are teaching their students. We have PLC times, and I will stop because I know we're out of time, but we have really great things in place.
What is your plan to expand and improve upon TAG programs or talented and gifted programs in the future?
In terms of expanding TAG programs, I'm not sure that that has been an issue that's really come up with the Board of Education. One thing that's incredibly important in our school is to take each kid as they come. And they come from all different places. And so we have some high-achieving kids in this district. This is a high-achieving district, accredited with distinction for 15 consecutive years. We have kids becoming lawyers, doctors, engineers, doing great things out there. And it's incumbent upon each school, not the Board of Education, but each school to identify those kids and identify their FTE count or their salaried count of people in each school and make sure that they're allocating resources so that we're not, for lack of a better term, and I hate to use this term, but I will, but dumbing down a curriculum just to the middle third of an audience. And not accommodating these high-achieving kids. Now, we've got so many different programs where these high-achieving kids can take advantage of college classes at UCCS, Pikes Peak State College, and others. And I think Mr. Wilburn referenced kids going into school, one of his own, with a running start on credits through AP classes and other things. I think we've done a good job. My kids have taken AP classes and they've walked into college with credit. I don't think we're remiss in TAG programs. I think we just need to identify what the population looks like. And even at Rampart High School, when one of our kids was there, I hate to say it, but one class was just full of star performers. It was incumbent upon that school to identify that and then move resources to those kids. So it's a very fluid environment, but talented and gifted kids are valued in this district. I remember one of my kids saying, this kid who's in 8th grade is in my 11th grade math class. And so we were moving a kid from a middle school and driving them over to a high school so that they could be accommodated. So I think our district, high performing, is doing a good job there.
I don't know to what degree this is within board purview. It is a little more site specific. I am blessed to be the father, the parent of 3 very, very high performing academically, now professionally kids. In fact, I get cautioned almost every day by someone senior in my campaign to stop bragging on my kids everywhere I go. Because I just said, sorry, but they're very, very high performing. So kind of been there, done that, taken all the advanced placement classes and what have you. We can find ways to partner in the community in ways that District 20 currently is not. We have a tremendous resource right in our backyard, that being the United States Air Force Academy. The United States Air Force Academy, as everyone knows, we have 2 schools on DoD property, Air Academy and Dove Valley, and they are willing and able to partner with the district in a number of ways if we reach out first. They're really not going, they can't initiate that. In fact, I've already initiated one such partnership, myself and Mr. Smith, who's sitting in here somewhere, talking with the athletic department about some ways we can bring recognition to kids in the district at athletic events for academic achievement or whatever they may be. One of the finest learning institutions in the world is technically within D20 boundaries. Why not partner with them and find ways to academically challenge our students with systems and programs at USAFA? Same thing with area businesses. I'm going to talk about my endorsements later, but I've got endorsements from business owners across this community. Bob Pincus and all sorts of different businesses right here in the community could and would take high-performing students under their roof and help out. CTEs. We can have technical learning environments like they have at Pueblo West, where kids can currently take classes and go to work for a local business, learning a trade, getting involved in electrician work if they're considering electrical engineering, what have you. So partnering the district with the community is probably a step that we can and should take. And as a member of the board, I have infinite ability to make some of those things happen.
I love this question as well. My first thought was my son, who's sitting here looking at me, wishing I didn't make him come. Just graduated in May as well, and he took a class from a teacher named Mitch Burke up at DCC. And one of the things that Mitch did and has done is he got a grant for an anatomy table, and it is one of the coolest things. Actually, the last time I spoke with him last spring was that he was going to get a doctor, and I believe he was from the academy, and have him come over and do an actual surgery on the table, you know, kind of. Anyway, it's amazing. I couldn't do it justice by talking about it, but it is fantastic and extremely expensive. But our kids have these opportunities. They have the opportunity to go and do these things. I have my other son who still wishes he moved spots, but I still see you. He wishes that I didn't talk about him either, but he is in an AVID class where within the next couple of weeks they'll start doing their tours to higher learning. They will go to, I think, pretty much all of the big ones by the time he's done with his senior year. And he's a sophomore right now, and there's just a lot of opportunity. I also was part of the bond campaign where we helped I obviously did not do a whole lot to this, but I was a big fan of getting the CTE put onto the end of Liberty High School. That is something that is a huge piece of that pendulum of kind of kids that maybe won't be going on the 4-year, but will be doing other trade and things like that, and that's hugely important. So these things happen in our school district. They already do, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity. I think our district is doing really well with that.
Yeah, gifted and talented is so very important for promoting those kids on the higher end to continue to push them and continue to drive them into areas of knowledge that they don't currently have. But it's just as equally important that we look at all of our programs, not just the gifted and talented, and assess them and say, are they being effective? What do we need to start doing? What do these programs need to keep doing? What do they need to stop doing? Is it an effective program? To always continually be looking at what we're doing and can we be doing it better? And can we expand in this area? And maybe this area needs to cut back because it's not being received the way that we wanted it to or whatever. But again, that direction comes from the superintendent and her duties to fulfill the vision and the goals and by staying in her lane and staying within the guardrails. And so it would be taking from her and her assessment of this program is working well, this program needs to expand, or we need to start this program, or we need to stop this program. So again, just always constantly looking and evaluating, are what we doing, is it good? Can it be better, or do we need to discontinue it? And so the Gifted and Talented program would certainly be part of that.
2 questions left for you guys tonight. Our second to last question is, how does the school board ensure that students with special needs have access to the same educational opportunities as their peers?
The question could use a little bit of tightening in the sense that special needs is a pretty broad category. Obviously for children, for students with physical special needs, access and things like that, we need to make sure that all of our buildings, all of our sidewalks, what have you, are up to government code, up to government standards, so kids can get access to bathrooms and the things you need to get access to when you have physical challenges. The special needs on the SPED side is a really a very significant challenge, not just in District 20, but everywhere in the country. SPED professionals are stretched thin. They're relatively hard to hire. Paras are in a challenging situation in that they can work in the school district or work making burritos at Taco Bell for roughly the same money in some cases, and at Taco Bell not really be worried about potentially getting kicked and bitten and some of the things that you may have to deal with in a SPED environment. So one of the things that I think is extremely important we do is that we focus on the paraprofessionals focus on the behavior and the personal needs of those students, while the instructors, the teachers, those certified to teach whatever they're teaching, focus on the academic aspect of their experience at the school. When those lines start to get blurred, all of a sudden you have a student who may have a professional and they have an aide with them, and it's easy for other students and maybe even teachers to think, well, they've got someone dedicated, they're getting the attention they need, when that paraprofessional isn't necessarily trained to teach history, they're trained to do the other things. So the student now is falling behind in more than one way. So we need to make sure that our SPED programs and our paraprofessionals, even the temporary ones, understand how we do things in the district. We need to do things in the district correctly to make sure those kids don't just keep falling further and further behind. And nothing's more important than them hitting the reading marker by the 3rd grade.
This is an area that's near and dear to my heart. I look around and I see some of my parents that are here that have special needs kids. I've certainly been somebody who's been seen as, anytime I go to a conference, I jump in the booth that says fully fund IDEA, where we're underfunded and things like that. I agree with Derek that there is an issue with keeping our paraprofessionals paid. They have had to deal with a lot of things, and pay is a big piece of it, which is why I would say we need to pass our MLO in this district, because that is for teacher pay, and that's one of the things that will be helping to retain those teachers and give them the opportunity to get proper pay for that. So that's important. I think that our SPED population also needs to have people that are helping them get into the classrooms and be part of the gen ed populations. And I think that in a lot of schools we do it really right. And there are a lot of ways that we can tighten that up and things like that, but I really do believe one of the biggest things in helping our SPED community right now, other than just loving the heck out of them, is passing that MLO.
Advocating for students with individual education plans has been what I've done my entire professional career. I have created plans of care and coordinated with services in the schools for those kids to be in the least restrictive environment, being able to help them be in a classroom for more minutes in the day versus being pulled out and being in a special education classroom. So that's vital to helping them reach their full potential, is getting in that least restrictive environment. So how do we do that? It's not impossible to recruit people from all over the nation to come here and work here. We did that at the Chinook Clinic. We recruited from all over the nation, and we created a place where people wanted to come. They wanted to stay. Our turnover rate was very, very low. So is it hard? Is it difficult? Yes. Is it impossible? No. And can we do that without asking the taxpayer to pay more property tax, or the business owner to pay 4 times more property tax? I believe we can. It's not impossible. Done it before. And it's about creating the right place and the right atmosphere and helping those kids be in the least restrictive environment and learning at their full potential.
Another thoughtful question, so thanks to the students. This is a dense subject. Public education has to take every kid where they're at. And so special education in each school is fluid year to year. It's not fixed where you've got 2 SPED teachers and 4 paras or whatever. Those populations typically change. Some great things have been said by all 3 of the people here up on the stage, so I don't need to be redundant to it. But one thing that we've done as a Board of Education is we have bolstered the staffing in our special education department because there were concerns. And as we sat down and had a group last year and went through an entire process of talking about special education, one thing that was abundantly clear was staffing. Mr. Wilburn touched on that issue because some of our paras could go to other jobs in the community that pay just as much or more. And so I believe many people working in our special education departments have servant hearts. And so we need to be supporting these people as much as possible. I do agree absolutely with our students with special needs being integrated into regular classrooms. Some of them need one-to-one support. That is a staffing issue. The paras are, in some cases, as Mr. Wilburn said, in abusive situations where they are kicked, they are assaulted. And so the intrinsics there are somewhat lacking when you can go to another job. So this is a dense issue. It doesn't have some sort of panacea answer to it, but it is something that we are laser focused on as a district because, again, the obligation of D20 is to take every kid as they come. We had a case, and I'm getting the signal, but I'm going to go for another few seconds, where one child cost the district $300,000 to take care of over a 1-year period a few years ago. $300,000. That would cripple a small district that has to accommodate, by law, every student as they come. So it is dense, there's no single answer, but we're looking at it.
And our last question of the night before we get into our closing statement, we are going to start with Heather, is what strategies or initiatives would you implement as a member of the school board to address the teacher shortage and the recruitment of qualified educators? Do you think teacher salaries should be raised?
Well, as the treasurer of the board, who has sat for the past 4 years, 2 years as the treasurer, but as the treasurer, I would say that absolutely our teachers need to be paid more, which is again, and thank you for the lead-in, a plug for the MLO, because I do believe that that is something that we need to have, that we need to pass. The idea of understanding the budget of this district. The idea that we can just reprioritize and take certain things from certain people and kind of rob Peter to pay Paul, those are not something that can happen. If you sit down with our CFO and go through what it would take to get our teachers to be in a more competitive opportunity, that needs to happen from all of us. And when we give the minimal amount that is being asked, that to me, I'm just plugging that because I feel really strongly about it. But I feel like the MLO is a big answer to that. That's one thing that I would do, is support that, and I do support that. The other thing that I would do is continue to create the idea that we all belong comes from the top down. And we have an incredible new superintendent who has come with a lot of her own initiatives of how to collaborate with different entities, whether they are members of the community, members of our armed forces, members of our parent community as well. All of these things are ways that we can help buoy our teachers and to help that retention and things like that. But we have to start with competitive pay. We are 178 of 178 in districts as far as being funded here in Colorado, and it's a shameful number, but it is something that we are working on.
Teachers are absolutely valuable. What you bring to the classroom every single day cannot be duplicated by just any person off the street. You have skills, you have knowledge, you have empathy and hearts that put you in that classroom in the first place. You knew what you were getting into when you came to this, but that doesn't mean you should be paid less for it. You absolutely should be paid for the amount that is competitive and deserving of you. I have run a business where we had to work within the lines. We didn't get to ask the taxpayer for more money. We had to figure it out. Every single budget has room to be better. And we can do that. And I absolutely 100% think teachers need to be paid in a competitive salary. And I think that we can do that without asking the taxpayers for more money.
I'm going to take a different slant on this. I think we all acknowledge that there is a dearth of teachers out there, and there's a dearth of teachers in the pipeline. But the tip of the spear in D20 happens in our classrooms, and it's our teachers. And I find it very quizzical, having run businesses on tight budgets myself for many years, probably about 40, that we're trying to encourage teachers to stay in the profession, yet we're attacking the profession. We are applying blanket narratives like our teachers are bringing woke into classrooms. They're indoctrinating our kids. They're teaching CRT, which isn't even a curriculum. When you attack your employees and then go say to them, go out there and get them, and face the customer with a big smile on your face, I find that to be very conflictual. We have to stop attacking this profession. This profession tried to get our kids through a global pandemic. They're fatigued. And then when you layer on top of it these blanket national narratives in the highest performing large school district in the state, you're putting one arm behind your back as you're looking at the retention and attraction of talent. Resources are one thing, but when you look at people and you say, what are the intrinsic values of their job? In most cases, salary isn't the top thing. It's being part of a team. It's a sense of belonging. It is a sense that you're valued. And when we devalue the profession from leadership on down and the community on down, we're doing a disservice to good people.
Societies change, societies evolve. The needs and wants of the populace ebbs and flows. I don't know that we have the ability to stop a national narrative. I don't know how we do that at a local level. I don't know if that's something we can implement on the ground. But ideas we can implement on the ground look something like this. As a recruiter for college interns, I visit college campuses and attend career fairs coast to coast. The next one I'm going to is at Florida Atlantic. I believe it'll be a good investment of resources of the district to engage in relationships with schools regionally, so we keep the costs under control, that have excellent track records of producing teachers. Get out there, talk to those people, and convince those graduates to potentially come interview and work for District 20. We live in a very desirable part of the world, a very desirable part of the country. This is a destination spot, particularly if you're 23, 24, 25 years old and you've just earned a degree and you're looking for someplace to settle down and get started in life. Obviously, we have to pay more. I've been endorsed by Paul Lundeen and Rose Pugliese, our respective Colorado Assembly members in the Senate and in the House. And I floated the idea by them, and I'm going to be pushing them to codify this. Why can't we waive vehicle registration fees for El Paso County teachers? We do that for our veterans. They don't pay a registration fee. Why can't we do that for our teachers too? It wouldn't make much of a difference in the state coffer or the county coffer, but for that teacher who's struggling to put a ham on the table, that could be $300 extra bucks a year that they don't have to pay. That's a bill that we can run, and I believe we can get passed. And we also should and can partner with the USAFA. The Air Force Academy is loaded with people, retired colonels, generals, captains, majors, there's one sitting right over there, who could and would teach and don't really need the paycheck. They wouldn't be doing it in order to keep a hand on the table, they'd be doing it because they're not doing anything else. That's a resource in our backyard that we could tap into to bolster the ranks of our teachers fairly easily.
We want to first and foremost thank you guys all so much for your time and thank everybody who came for their time. Our next part and the very last thing we're going to do is our closing statements. For closing statements, you guys will each have 3 minutes to sum up any points you wanted to make, say anything you want really. And we'll start with Derek.
Thank you, first of all, everybody, students, audience. The fact that you're here demonstrates that you care, you're plugged in, you're engaged. I really want to thank all of you because we all know there's an ideological divide in our society, and certainly in District 20, just like there is everywhere in the world. And you've been extremely cordial, and I personally appreciate it. And I think I speak for all 4 of us when I say that. Thank you, hosts, for putting this together. I couldn't have imagined having done this when I was your age. I'd be home watching the basketball game on TV. So you're motivated, you're plugged in, you're smart, and I commend you. No job is more important for any generation than educating the next generation. That's the most important job any of us can do. Our families, our communities, our state, our nation, indeed our world depends upon the successful education of our children. All of our futures are tied to that, and some of us who are already on the back 9 need to really be thinking about who's going to be running our futures. I encourage all of you to please visit electderekwoodburn.com. Take a look, surf around, see what you see. There you're going to see on my website a pretty broad assortment of people and institutions that have endorsed and support my candidacy. I've got political leaders literally from all around the nation. I have mayors, I have military officers, I have people with extensive backgrounds in education, law enforcement, white ones, black ones, young ones, old ones, and everything in between. And the reason those people are all supporting me is because they've seen for years my commitment to country, my commitment to education, and they know that I'm a person who gets things done. You really can't run a nonprofit, let alone a nonprofit as small as mine, and not get things done. For reasons I'm not going to go into tonight, I made the decision a few years ago to get off of social media. It's a story. If you want a coffee over it sometime, I'll tell you. But I'm not on TwitFace. I'm not on Talk Doom. I'm not on any of the stuff that frustrates the living daylights out of all of us at every single red light. But I am committed to accessibility. You can email me through my website. You can pick up one of my cards out there in the lobby. It has my cell phone on it. Call me anytime. I will return your call within 24 hours, guaranteed. Open book, fully transparent, nothing in the closet that I am ashamed or not willing to discuss with anyone who wants to know where I stand on issues. Thank you again, and thank the 3 of you. And especially thank you two. I mean, you're volunteers on a board that I'm trying to become a volunteer on, but I know how time-consuming it is. And it's not an easy job, and you've done it for the right reasons, and I appreciate your work.
Thanks again to our students for holding this forum. This takes work, teamwork, thought, and planning. Congratulations on an event well done. How about a hand for our students? You guys are awesome. While every candidate here may be committed to education, there are stark differences between us. There are a couple of candidates who contend on their websites that D20 is failing our children. One claims, based on a snippet of selectively chosen data, that it may be as many as 10,000 kids a year we're failing. That's a big number. We have 26,600 students in D20. If any organization let down 38% of its customers on a regular basis, then they would be out of business, and rightly so. As I mentioned before, I'm a dad to 5 kids, and they've all gone through D20. If it were true that our schools were failing so many students year after year, you can bet your lunch money that I would have taken them out of D20 a long time ago. Outcomes should not be defined by one snapshot of assessment test scores. Some of you may excel at test taking. Some of you may not. I was not a great test taker, and look at me now, having the great honor of being on this stage with you all. I have a much more positive outlook on this district and your future. You are in the highest performing school district, large school district in Colorado, accredited with distinction for 15 consecutive years. A number of factors go into that rating, and those ratings reflect her impact on the whole child, you. I've been involved in virtually every one of the 40 schools in D20 through my volunteer leadership over the past several years. I see every school focused on being even better every day on your behalf. When I visit schools, I see teams dedicated to making the most of their PLC time so that they can close learning gaps. I see incredible events put on by staff members working countless hours, unpaid hours, to make them happen. I see principals filling in as crossing guards and assistant principals filling in as lunch service workers. And I see you, laughing, smiling, learning. In the past 2 years, new personalities and advocacy groups have come onto the scene, and adult issues have at times distracted the Board of Education and D20 from focusing on your outcomes. We have heard concerns raised by loud voices that kids are being indoctrinated, books need to be removed from libraries, parents need more rights, and so much more. While I value all perspectives, applying these blanket narratives to an entire district in its daily operation is something I wholeheartedly reject. It's also insulting to our hardworking educators and dedicated staff members. You kids deserve our best. You deserve experienced, committed board members who will always put what's best for students before any personal agendas. When re-elected, you can trust me to do what I have done for the past 4 years, which is to advocate for the best interests of all students and their families in D20. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone for coming tonight and making education a priority. Thank you, Pine Creek High School students, for putting this on. Your questions submitted shine a light on the topics that are at a forefront in our school environment right now. Thank you, Chinook Trail Middle School, for hosting. This has been a wonderful experience, and like you said, you all have been a wonderful audience, so thank you for that. We are at a time in our nation's history, in our story, where topics like the ones discussed tonight are creating great division and damage, and our students and education system are feeling the effects. The great news about D20 is that we are full of amazing parents, teachers, and local business partners who love this district, who love this community, and are committed to making it more successful than it's ever been. Let's go there. Let's make the commitment to dig in and candidly look deep at where we're at and our everyday practices. What do we need to start doing? What do we need to stop doing? What do we need to keep doing? Let's dream big about the greatness that D20 can become, being special in every area. My leadership style focuses on quality in every area, every aspect, without leaving out the details. That's evident through starting the company from scratch and growing to over 290 employees in 12 locations. By cutting through the clutter and inspiring a large team to focus on a singular mission. My experience as a speech-language pathologist has taught me how to evaluate and analyze strengths and weaknesses, how to create a plan with short and long-term goals, and how to execute that plan to achieve the child's full potential. I bring the much-needed fresh perspective, drive for results, and a keen focus on academic growth and excellence that this district needs at this exact time. I'm committed to academic excellence, parent rights, and our special needs community, propelling all students to reach their full potential. I thank you again for coming tonight.
Let me start by thanking our students. I love a lot of you guys that I've met, and I'm sure I love all of you as I would know you. Thank you also to the staff and principals that have been a part of setting this up for us tonight. I also want to give a quick shout out to my husband, Bob, who bears with a lot of lonely dinners, and as we become near empty nesters, it's not changing anytime soon. So I am extremely busy, and he puts up with a lot, so I just wanted to give a quick shout out to him and to my two boys who always support me, Jack and Sam. I appreciate you. I want to reiterate the message that has been at the core of my campaign and my guiding principle these past 4 years, and that's students first. I've had the privilege of being a part of this incredible district for over 13 years. From my days as an involved parent to my time on the school board, one thing has remained constant: my unwavering commitment to this district and its students and staff. I have continuously proven how much I care about our students and our staff. Our staff is what differentiates us and puts us at the forefront of academic excellence. We risk losing sight of our fundamental principles by electing candidates who are running on platforms of fear and division. Instead, let's continue down a path of excellence, relentlessly working to make this a better district for students and staff. We cannot lose sight of who we are and how we care about our people. This election isn't about politics. It's about our children's futures. It's about ensuring that they have the best possible education, the best possible opportunities, and the guarantee that all students have the opportunity to excel. When you cast your vote, remember that I am the candidate who has dedicated my time, my energy, and my heart to this district. I am the candidate who is always putting students first, who's respected by teachers and supported by parents. Let's keep our schools on the right track. Let's ensure that this district remains a place where every child's potential is nurtured and celebrated, where they feel safe and valued. And for those students here today, know that you are seen, you are heard, and I look forward to handing you each diplomas in the near future.
Thank you all again so much for coming. Thank you for your questions, even though I'm sorry we were not able to get to all of them. Thank you to our candidates, and thank you to everyone who helped us out, all of our principals and administrators who are here. Just thank you. If you would like to speak or ask any outstanding questions to any of our candidates, they have some tables set up in sort of the front area. Thank you again.
Thanks, Will.
I thought